Hey everyone, welcome to American Gearbox pre-race shakedown. We're talking about Spain, FP1 and FP2, and all of the drama that goes along with it. We're going to be speaking about the Mercedes upgrades, these mysterious Ferrari upgrades, the chicane, what things are looking like with Red Bull, and much more. So to jump into it first, I want to introduce you to one of the analysts here on American Gearbox, and that is Razor F1. So Razor, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for jumping on. Truly appreciate you jumping on, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Pleasure to be here. Dive into this week of the Spanish Grand Prix. Just hoping we have a little mix up this week, So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Gunny F1.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So the big thing to me, and you actually just brought up a point that reminded me of something. You said you're hoping for a little bit of a mix up this week, and that's huge because they were talking in practice about rain forecasts, and then it would go away, and then it would rain a little bit, and then it would go away. And I believe one of the drivers even mentioned, say, hey, raining over turn 9 or whatever the case was. Forgetting which driver it was off the top of my head now, but that was in FP2. So I'm hoping we see a similar situation to Monaco where there's lots of rain and it's creating some uncertainty,
Oh, absolutely. Because listen, right now it's, as we know, it's all Red Bull. It's the Red Bull Alonso every week. So we need something for Mercedes to get back up there, hit. But yeah, just to kind of give it a little flair. It's nice to see Alpine coming back up and showing some form. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of a mixed grid. Even McLaren,
Yep.
they were in the points again. We thought they would be terrible all season. They seem to be showing some progression and getting back up there. So yeah, that's what I mean by the mix up. I'm excited to see that. So
Some
let's
signs
see.
of life.
Yes, yes.
I guess give me your thoughts on I guess overall practice so far. I mean,
So the first thing that I thought that was interesting, they were testing out the new tires. So I think the hard tires.
yep.
I don't know how much data they got on those, but positioning wise, where everybody kind of fell out, it seemed to be pretty much the same as how Bahrain went, on the typical racetrack. So I kind of expected to string out that same kind of way, here in at the Spanish Grand Prix. But I'm kind of disappointed in the way Merck looked, just in practice.
Yep.
So that was tough. I was, we were talking about this earlier offline. They're just not dialing in the car or getting the car in the right window in practice to get to quali. So they're a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to the race. And, they get stuck in that, 4 through 6 kind of position. I'd like to see them, be a little bit further up, 3rd, 5th, at the end of practice. And then in quali, be right there behind Alonso, maybe 4th, 5th, maybe even 3rd, I mean, that's pushing it, but just would like to see a little bit more from them. Alpine definitely looks like they're improved. Ocon looks like he's, drank some Red Bull or whatever, and that car is just humming. And he's pushing up with those guys. He's ahead of Ferrari, so kudos to him. So I got to give him credit. If he can, keep that up through FP3 and quali, I think that's going to be a problem. He's going to just gain a lot more confidence and do what he needs to do. He's coming out as a clear leader of that team. So kudos to him. What about you? What do you think of the rest of the grid? I mean, everyone else pretty much felt typically where they are,
Yeah, for the most part, there's a little shakeup here and there, but to be quite honest, I think what you're saying about Merck is spot on. I think that where they are right now is where Red Bull was 2 years ago in preseason testing. That's the best way I can describe it, because the last season and the first 5 races of this season, they're scrapped. None of that data is valuable given that the car is completely different now. So they actually, right now, is essentially their winter testing. That's what they're using FP1, FP2, and FP3 for. This is their winter testing. So I don't think we've seen any of the pace. I think they're doing high fuel load runs. In my personal opinion, I don't think we'll see a strong Merc until 2025 again. And I won't say Merc is back until they can win 2 out of 5 races. If they can win 2 out of 5 races, I'll say, yeah, then they're back. You mentioned, you brought up another good point, brought up how you see Ocon as the team leader there over Gasly. And it's just, if you, it's kind, to be quite honest, he's kind of exposed Gasly.
Yes, I didn't want to say that, but you said it, and
Yeah,
I
he kind of
agree.
has. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's exposed
totally
him.
agree.
That car
Yeah, he
is not
doesn't.
known as a difficult car to drive. So
No, and he's struggling a little bit in there.
yeah, so he's exposed
Yes.
Gasly that, everybody, myself included, as you know, I'm a big Gas fan, and
Yeah,
everybody expected him to go there. And I thought he was going to be the team leader.
the
I thought he
guy.
was going to be driver one by a landslide. I didn't think it was going to be
Yeah.
close, and it's not happening. To make matters worse, well, to flip into something else, which may become a storyline, Fernando continues to absolutely bury Stroll, bury him.
We
And
talked about this. This was
yeah,
one of the things we talked about.
well, if you notice, there was one time where I didn't know if you, I don't know if you saw in FP2 where they showed the graphic, where they show who's more dominant at certain parts of a sector. And they're showing two teammates, and then one will be in white and the other will be in the team color. And, it'll show, oh, one's more dominant in the slow speed corners, the other is more dominant in the medium speed corners and the straights, things like that.
Yes.
They showed that graphic between Stroll and Fernando. Fernando's line was green, Stroll's was white. The entire track was completely green. He dominated him the entire way. And so just like, what I want to see is, okay, when this season ends, what does Lawrence Stroll do? Clearly, your son is not it.
He's
Clearly,
not that guy.
he's not that guy. You have a race team that you've built a consortium around of millionaires and billionaires. There's a lot of money riding on this. Do you keep your non-talented son in there just to keep him happy, or do you do right by your shareholders and bring in a talented driver and tell your son, listen, you had a good run and it's time to move on?
Listen, I think you answered the question yourself. I mean, we were talking about this, and my argument was, I think any other driver in that second seat would have that Aston
Yep.
Martin team comfortably second in the constructors. And I think
Absolutely.
you're getting on board with that. So yeah,
I have to agree with that.
It's clear to see. I forget where Stroll was in P1 in practice one, but he was like 18th. He was about a second and almost 2 seconds off.
Yeah, he was.
I think on the softs and everything. And I was like, what is he doing? He
Yep,
just couldn't get a handle on the car. He
15th.
15th on, I think, in one, and then
In
I think
one,
he was
and then in two, he
18th
was
for most.
18 in
18th.
two.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. In that car,
Agreed.
that's the second best car on the grid. So
Yep.
yeah,
By far, too.
Yeah,
By
that's the
far.
thing. You definitely got to get somebody else in there. Like you said, I think you put somebody else in there and you solidify that team as the second best team on the grid, But that's going to be remain to see. I mean, I think Lawrence is loyal to the son, and it's just going to be the
Going to be
same
one of
thing
those
over.
things where it is what it is, and it continues like that.
Yeah,
Oh my
and
gosh.
for years, it's a shame, But
I guess you know what, and who knows, this may work for him, because at the end of the day, the bulk of their money comes from Liberty Media, from the TV rights and all that. So regardless, it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, it does matter how well the team does, because obviously that prize money that comes from progressing, it's millions of dollars. However, I guess it's kind of a situation whereas, okay, maybe we're not always going to be competing for championships. So that means we lose a few $1,000,000. However, I'm a stakeholder in an F1 team. No matter what, I'm raking in tens of millions of dollars anyway over the year. So they may just look at it and say, oh, well, it is what it is. I guess next for us to quickly touch on, and I kind of know where this is going to go, but what are your thoughts on Verstappen and Red Bull? Now, 6 races in, we have Verstappen with 4 wins. We have Perez with 2 wins. I'm sticking to my guns. I say we have it's going to be a complete lockout of wins for the entire season. Red Bull, in my opinion, I think Max will win 16 races, and I think Perez will win 6 overall. And I think this season will be wrapped up early. That's where I see this going. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was kind of hesitant to agree with you on that, but I'm gonna have to definitely agree. I don't know, Verstappen's just in his zone. He may have some minor complaints about the balancing here and there, but he's adapting so quickly every
Yep.
race, and we saw it in Miami. He went from ninth to first, even if he
He
has a bad,
lapped he
yeah,
lapped his teammate twice last race,
right.
which is unfathomable. That didn't even happen to Gasly when he was at Red Bull. He got lapped
Exactly.
once. Albon got lapped once when he was there. It's you get lapped twice and you're supposed to be a championship contender. And
Exactly.
I can't even put the whole blame on Perez. Perez is a good driver. But what we've seen is that good drivers are made to look poor next to Max Verstappen.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, and I guess I probably do agree with you. He's gonna get at least 14 wins
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
And you're right, he'll probably will get up to 16. I don't even know if Perez will get those others, I
Yep.
mean, we kind of the I was watching some of the old race, a couple of the I think it was Australia and one of the other, I think Baku, where Perez actually won, and that's what's going to take for Max to actually not win is
Yep.
either a safety car, something, a tire puncture, some kind of
Yep.
fail.
Some
That's it.
anomaly. Yep.
Yes, that's the only thing that's going to keep him off of the, P1. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's pretty much done. I hate to say it. I was trying not to say it so early, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's Max is that guy. He's definitely gonna, I think, secure here. I think he already has, but it just needs to play out. And he's gonna secure the championship pretty much.
Here's something to think about. The last time he was beaten on pure pace, just pure merit, was Interlagos of goodness, year before last. Interlagos
21 or 20,
21. Yeah,
20.
Interlagos 2021. Because if you remember, that was the year Ham was going to go pass him on the outside and he forced Ham off the
I
track.
remember
Then
that.
Ham
Yep.
caught back up to him and passed him. But I think that's the last time. If anybody's watching and I'm wrong, correct me. But then, because after that was Abu Dhabi, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then there, we all know what happened there. But
Yeah.
that was the last time Verstappen was beat just on merit, just car to car, track we go. He's never been beaten like that since. He's
And
that
yeah.
hard and that galvanized, that cauterized, that tough, that battle tested. I'll say it again. There's one man on the grid that can beat him, and that man is in a garbage W14.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The only other guy that I think that may have a chance is Alonso, but
Yep.
he
Yep.
doesn't have the car though, not with the Red Bull
Right.
running on all full,
That's
cylinders.
an
He had to have a
excellent
damage.
observation. Yep.
Yeah,
In the same
that's
car,
it.
I think Fernandez could actually beat him. That's a
Yes.
great topic, man, to think about. I think in the
Yeah.
same car, I think it would be close.
It would be. It
Yeah.
would be. I was looking at some of Fernando's passes in a couple of the old races, and oh man, he's like one of my favorites. Probably the best guy to watch this year besides Max and
Yep.
and Perez.
He,
So
it kind of reminds me of it's a similar situation to what Charles Barkley was in when in the NBA. So we saw Charles Barkley never win a ring because Jordan was always there to snatch him up. The GOAT was
yeah,
there. Charles Barkley was good. He was great, but he was never there to win a ring. We're seeing that happen. Fernando was never at the right team at the right time to win.
yeah,
Never. But he is a monster. In my
he
opinion,
is.
he's top. I gotta say, he's probably top 4 all time. Top
He
4, top
is.
5 all time. It's because he doesn't have the hardware. That's the
He
thing.
doesn't. He
Right.
doesn't. Yeah.
On
Since his
paper,
championship days.
right. On paper, you look at it and you're like, I don't, I wouldn't, he doesn't have any, what does he have? 2 championships? That's really it.
Yep.
If he was at Merck or something like that,
Yeah.
forget about it. He would have, I think he would have, it would have been a Lewis Hamilton situation. He would have had 7 or 8
Easily.
championships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even now, he's still a monster.
I see that. That's the
man.
thing. I feel like he's rejuvenated.
Yep.
He's found like this new spirit in him and everything, and he's just like, I feel like he's kind of the face now
Mm-hmm.
for F1 a bit. He really plays to to Instagram, to the media, to everything, like week in, week out, the
Yep.
big brother here taking care of Stroll and looking on the TV. Yeah, he's just fun to watch. So I definitely been enjoying him, and he's fun to see for sure.
It's clear he also realizes now, he's matured and he realizes he has to play the corporate game. It
Yes.
can't be just I'm a great driver and then you deal with my attitude, take it or leave it.
Right. Yeah.
He clearly realizes this
He's
guy's
cleaned it
dad
up.
writes my checks.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
I need to
He's
behave.
definitely cleaned that up for
Yeah.
sure.
The Ferrari upgrades. What we've been told is that they've come with a pretty robust upgrade package this weekend. What are your thoughts about Ferrari, their upgrades, and where do you see them going this season?
It's such a we always are so shocked by Ferrari. Just can they get organized? Can they get it together to really
Yep.
put forth the package that we know that they of old? And they always seem to just let us down.
Yep.
While I think this might be a decent upgrade, I want to see FP3.
Yep.
They're holding back a little bit, so I want to see FP3 in quali where they're at. I did see. I think Leclerc had the paint on, and they were trying to gather some wind data, and stuff on
Yeah.
there. So, I hope it's a good upgrade, but I can't really tell for sure yet. How good it's going to be. I think in FP3 we'll kind of see it shake out as well as in quali. When they're on low fuel and really have the engine mode turned up. They may have a good weekend. Will they be on podium or that far up? I don't think they're gonna be that great this weekend, but I think they'll be back up in the P5 to P7 range. What do you think?
This
Tough.
is so
Yeah, it's
this is
hard
gonna
to
be so
say,
off to say,
Yeah.
but what my gut immediately tells me that they're going to be faster, but they're still not going to be on the level of Mercedes. My gut just tells me Mercedes is sandbagging right now. My
They
gut is
both
just
kind of
saying
are. Yeah, I agree.
they're sandbagging.
I agree.
This is a track
Both.
that they're comfortable gathering data at because it was
Yeah.
the test track. My gut is just saying they are sandbagging and they are planning to unleash hell come the end of FP3 and then in quali.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And
So those are
yep.
going to be, sorry to jump in, but
No,
I think
please,
those are
go
going to
ahead.
be the two to watch: the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the
Mhm.
Alpine. Those three right there. I'm not even going to say Alpha. I mean, Bottas is like up and down, but he may surprise us, as a one-off in there. But the Alpine, Mercedes, and Ferrari, watch those in quality. I think they're going to be jumping up and down, and I think that's going to be pretty fun to watch. I think Alonso definitely stays ahead of all of them, but if that mixes, oh, that would be amazing. And then that's what I was saying in the beginning. I hope we get a nice little mix in there where it's just like, is Ferrari back? Is Alonso in trouble? What storyline is that going to create? Is Merc, really, reaping the benefits from those upgrades? So I think it's going to be, I think quali here for me is going to be exciting, because between the upgrades and just seeing what everyone really has, it's going to set up for like the rest of the summer here now, so coming up for Silverstone and, so I think this quali, I think, is going to be really exciting, at least for me, to kind of see where Merc is and where Ferrari is. And, is Alpine really, the real deal? Did they get it together or what? So I think it'll be fun to watch for sure.
I think what the reason why I kind of had that gut feeling, a large part of that is because last year in Austria, before heading into quali, Toto said, this is going to be fun. They didn't have a great quali. They had some upgrades and they were better, but they weren't as good as Toto thought they were going to be. But the fact that he sandbagged all through practice and then saved the top performance for quali. And if you remember, both George and Lewis pushed the car. They both spun out during quali and didn't qualify well because they were trying to push those upgrades. But the mere fact that he did that then leads me to think he will do that again now. with that,
For sure.
last but not least, what are your thoughts on the removal of the chicane?
That was another thing. I saw, was it Martin Brundle? He was talking about that, but they were complaining a little bit about a bump at the end. And I guess because they're flowing all the way through that turn now, you know,
Yep.
you kind of feel it a little bit more. They can't get completely flat out, or they're trying to, but there's a little wind, you know, I heard some of the guys complaining about. But I like it. I think it's going to make it a little bit more interesting. They're talking about it making it either, it's going to make it an extra stop for him, you know, more of a two-stop kind of race
Yep.
than, you know, you definitely can't make it a one-stop. I think Vettel tried to do it a few years back, and this is not the track for that. So I think it makes for better racing. It's going to keep it competitive. It's going to keep it quick. You know, you're going to see faster lap times. So I like the removal of the chicane here.
Me
What
too.
about you? Yeah.
I absolutely love it. The drivers love it.
Yeah.
All of the analysts love it. And
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
it's going to add for better racing because
Yep.
now, instead of that coming off of the chicane, and which they put that in there to try to promote overtaking, and it did nothing.
Yeah, it didn't. It
Now,
didn't.
essentially, what you get is almost a bonus part of the main straightaway for
Yes.
overtake. So yeah, to me, that's huge. And yes, the tire wear factor, that's awesome too. I think we're going to see a lot of, and Martin Brundle brought this up. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw in whenever we go to Hungary. You know how it's either if Merck is behind Red Bull, then they go ahead and they just pit, they do an extra pit stop
Yes.
and then try to catch up. So
Right.
Mercedes did that to Red Bull twice. Then Red Bull did that back to Mercedes, I think in 2020. And they're predicting that that's what could happen here, where you have a two stop. Then it's, and I think we may see that between Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Ferrari. We may see one or two of those teams try it. In my opinion, I think Verstappen will be off to the races quick, and this is going to be an easy win for him. I think it'll be one of those wins where he could be essentially driving with one hand and sipping a soda with the other and still win. Yeah, we saw.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think Perez is so done. He's so done. And you look at the last two races. Last race, he lapped him twice, which is insane. The race before that, he ends up catching him when Perez has a 9-second lead, and Max still had to fight through 8 other cars. No, sorry, 7 other cars.
Yeah.
How do you have an open track in front of you? How do you get caught by your teammate who has to take 7 cars and he's 9 seconds behind you? So
I will give him that it's Monaco, and I expect Perez to be a lot closer this weekend than know.
He's the street king, right? All of his races are on street circuits.
Didn't look like it,
right? You know? Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So
I expect better this weekend. Though.
One, we're on street circuits. So you're the street king. How are you getting crushed like that? You know?
One other thing I've been thinking of, or just wondering, what are your thoughts on McLaren? You know, I'm wondering, are they back a little bit? What's happening? Norris seems to be really pushing into the points or getting a handle of that car. I know they struggled earlier in the year, so I'm like wondering, are they kind of pushing up that fight now to kind of fight with Alpha and those guys back there to, be back, or are they still pretty much done for the season? I was just curious what you thought about that.
I think they're done, and the reason why, and it's because of one person, Zach Brown.
We talk about this all the time.
And if goodness, last race, who was it that brought it up? Was it Crofty? It wasn't Crofty. One of the well-respected pundits brought it up, and when he said it, I was like, "That's true." Actually, he said it takes 5 years to turn a team around.
Yeah,
it takes about. He said if you saw with Mercedes that happened, took them 5 years before they became those championship contenders. Same thing happened with Red Bull after Vettel left. It took them essentially 5 years to build up and get back to where they are now. Zach Brown has been there since 2018. So we look 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This is year 5. Right?
Yeah.
They should be fighting for wins and podiums right up at the front. They should be fighting for a championship. Zach feels that he has to have a handle on everything. He's doing the hiring. He reminds me of Jerry Jones in football, where he's making all these decisions and he doesn't really know what he's doing.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. I could
And
see
so,
that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It makes me very mad for one reason. I was a Zach Brown fan years ago,
Yeah. Yeah. I liked
but
him too in the early years.
he is single-handedly burning up Lando Norris's best years. And Lando Norris is such a
Yeah.
talent. And he's squandering Lando's best years. And he does not care. It doesn't seem like he cares at all. Because in my personal opinion, if I was in his shoes and you made me head of all those divisions, cool. I'm watching them. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport. My
Right.
my butt is going to be sitting at that McLaren facility, making sure that I'm on top of everything. I'm working 16 hours every day until we get this right. But you see
Right.
him with his pictures. He's off in the States. He's at
He's golfing.
IndyCar.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't really matter to him because as long as some money's coming in, they're fine with it, which is absolutely ridiculous to me.
So do you think it resets, like you said, like this is year 5. They still have another 5 years before they're even where they need to be.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't. But the problem is, I don't think that the clock hasn't even started until Zach Brown is out.
Really?
Yeah, the clock hasn't. Think about it.
Yeah.
They had
I can see that.
The funding is there. Their funding prior to COVID, their funding was up there with Mercedes and
Right, that's the
and
thing.
Red Bull, right? Because we know Ferrari has the most money. Then you have then Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren. They were right up there with them with funding. COVID happened. They lost a lot of money. Had to take a loan. They were a poor team for about, I don't know, 2 weeks. Then they got the funding, and then they're right back up again with all of that funding. Yet still, you can't bring in the personnel to make a car work. I know they just brought in the 17-year veteran from Red Bull. That's a step in the right direction. And I'm forgetting the position that he's in, but I do know it's a technical position. That's a step in the right direction. But they should have been doing that years ago. That should have been 2019. You should have been trying to do that.
That's what I was just gonna say. That was a 2019, late 18 decision that should have been made for them. Yeah.
Right. And so I don't think it's a situation where we're going to see a successful McLaren team until he's out. And it pains me because number one, because of Lando Norris. And
I love Lando.
Yeah, it's that Charles Barkley thing where you're squandering his best years. In my opinion, if Lando would have been at a Merc or granted, okay, it could be looked at two ways. He probably wouldn't have been winning championships because Lewis and Max are on the grid.
Right.
But he would be in a better car. He would have race wins because still he has no race wins.
Still none, yeah.
He would have more podiums.
He would be like Alonso, so to speak. If he was like, can you imagine
exactly
as the second driver in that Aston Martin?
Oh my goodness. If
my good.
First of all,
just for example, I mean, I'm just, you know what I'm saying.
We wouldn't even be talking about a fight for second place. We would be talking about a fight between Ferrari and Mercedes for third place.
Exactly.
And
I could see something like that happening, even though it's kind of unlikely. But wow,
that would be quite honest, though. If that was the case, I think the season where we are right now would be 4 Verstappen wins, 1 Perez win, and potentially 1 Norris win.
Yeah,
that's what I can see that. Yeah, he's that good. And
he is absolutely.
Yeah. It just gets overshadowed by his awful car all the time. I appreciate you. Let's connect right after Quali. Jump on, discuss that.
Absolutely.
But, thank you for jumping on, man. Great insights. Truly appreciate you.
Of course, glad to be here.
Yep, we will see you in the next one. And Razor, take us out, man.
All right, until the next one from the Spanish Grand Prix. This is your boy Razor F1 coming to you live here with Gunny F1 on American Gearbox.
Yes, sir. Peace.